Hi there, I'm Lori Petro, and you are watching another episode of our weekly Q&A where I show you how to create teachable moments with your kids. And today's question is from Sony, and she asks, Dear Lori, my 2-year-old daughter, who is the middle child of a 3.5-year-old and a 3.5-month-old, breaks into a screaming fit whenever she wants something. It's a horrid, ear-piercing scream that there are 5 in our family, are so exhausted of hearing because she does it all day long. How do I get her to ask for what she wants instead of crying and screaming? Her language is still very limited, but she has a daily growing vocabulary, and even things that she knows how to say, she cries for. Wow, Sony. Well, first let me state the obvious, that you have your blessed hands full with 3 children under the age of 4. So I imagine that there is a lot of emotional wrangling going on in your house with so many young ones who are always probably hanging on you, constantly seeking your attention and affection, and probably creating a glorious mess in your lovely home. Now, you are at the beginning stages of building a lifelong bond with your children, and right now, several little people desperately need you to interact with them on a constant and consistent basis. They depend on you for virtually every need and desire. And due to the emotional maturity of your children, it's likely that the conflicts are arising because there are just so many feelings and needs and ideas to consider that it can be really overwhelming for everyone, especially your daughter, who simply just does not have the brain power to know what she needs or know that her needs are not less important than her siblings, or to take her screaming and know that there are consequences and that it affects other people, or to formulate those questions and then speak them at an appropriate volume. You probably have heard how birth order affects behavior, and at only 2 years old, your daughter's needs are caught between a helpless infant who requires a great deal of attention and a bigger, more eloquent older sibling. So screaming in her mind is probably nothing more than a noticeable entrance. So here are my top 4 ideas for keeping your sanity and leading your child into more subtle ways of asking for what she wants. So how do we respond to kids who scream? First, notice the patterns. Notice how much other family members are screaming to get their needs met. The baby probably screams a bunch and probably gets a lot of attention this way. So for your daughter, it probably seems like a perfectly reasonable strategy to try herself. Maybe you can acknowledge this possibility with her. Maybe you can say something like, were you screaming because baby brother does? He screams a lot when he needs something, doesn't he? Or, it sounds like you're needing something, and I know that we all scream sometimes when we need something. I sure do scream loudly sometimes when I'm feeling frustrated and tired of waiting. When you respond with irritation or disappointment about yet another scream, she's going to mirror that vibration back to you and maintain her stance because she's assuming that this is how she's supposed to be reacting based on the information that she receives from your tone, your energy, and finally your language, verbal and nonverbal. We want to reduce the negative associations with screaming and just acknowledge that it happens to everyone. My next idea is to make it a game. Kids love to play, so create times when screaming is acceptable. For example, bath time is loud voices time, and breakfast time is soft voices time. Or you can say, oh, it's cleanup time, let's use our loud and crazy voices. If she's screaming when it's not time, instead of verbally reminding her or trying to stop her, use a nonverbal gesture or create visual guides to show your kids what's acceptable when. Have a no scream zone stone that you hand over when things get crazy. Kids benefit from having roles, rules, and tools. And when they are appropriate and safe and not threatening to their sense of well-being, then kids learn what we want them to learn. So games are a great way to help kids learn to manage their behaviors. Next, be the change. Learn to allow those screams to ring through you, but not rattle you. When your child screams for something, respond with the emotional maturity that you want her to one day model. You can say in a soft, neutral tone of voice, which is loving and not critical, think Mr. Rogers. He had a very slow, soothing tone of voice, which is perfect for kids. You can say something like, ouch, that hurts my ears. Let's help get you what you need. Or, I hear you calling. Now, she may not stop immediately in the moment, and sometimes this makes parents think, oh, this isn't working. And then they resort back to more negative or demanding reactions or requests for compliance. But your force only builds more fear, and you want to build relationship and influence, and that takes time. This is not a sprint to raise the most adult-like child by age 5. Growing up and the maturing of the brain takes over 20 years. Kids just don't get it in a few. It's about repetition. It's about creating stronger connections to positive memories. So my final tip is don't plead your case. Reflect to regulate and then reframe. Sometimes we insist, we beg, and we require change before we respond with what our kids really need. So don't plead your case. Don't hold back. Don't feed the monster with your reactivity and demands. Instead, reflect back to her what you see and hear so that you can provide the empathy that she needs to regulate her system. And then reframe what you heard by suggesting a new way to ask for what she needs. You're feeling so frustrated, you want to say, listen to me, help me. Or screaming feels so good, it's loud and it does get my attention. Instead of using your big loud voice, can you tap my arm and say, look at me, Mama. You want it now, I can see how frustrated you are. Next time, tell me it's hard to wait. Or sometimes it's hard for you not to have Mama's attention. There are so many people talking. I'm thinking you wanted to say something. Did you think I forgot about you? If her brain is on overload, which happens often at age 2 when something doesn't go as expected or happens too fast, she's not necessarily aware of what will happen next. She can't predict, oh, Mom will know what I mean, even if I can't figure out that darn word, she'll know what I mean. Or, Mom will be right here. She said she would get it, so I am sure she's coming. She can only think, I don't have my milk or my toy, or I need a hug, or I'm feeling overwhelmed, I need food, or my doll or my dad's arms, and I need it now. This is where we tend to overdo it with our kids. So you don't need to give lectures that only emphasize the negative impact of their actions. Instead, just let your child know that you know how she feels, and then give her a new way to ask, and do it with the confidence that as she matures and has faith that this way of asking for what she needs won't be met with animosity or impatience, know that she will adapt the strategies that you are trying to offer. Screaming is obviously a fun way for kids to test their voices, to learn about their range, and to hear the sounds that they can make. So please know that while it may seem like she is not moving past this stage and you're not succeeding, you are. It just takes time and lots of repeated efforts for you to stay calm. Remember that when your child is upset, there is not something to fix, but there is something to know. Okay, that was my teachable moment for you. Now, what about you? Here's a challenge for you. Aside from some good old earplugs to calm your nerves, how do you respond to your child's screams? Is it free of blame, shame, judgment, and guilt? And if not, can you reframe it to be more conscious? I would love to hear your ideas, so leave me a note in the comments because you never know, but just by sharing your shifts, you might just inspire someone else towards the changes that they were looking for. And if you like this video, I would love it if you would share it with a friend or someone you love or on your favorite social media site, because when you share the love spreads. And if you want more video trainings like this, be sure that you are subscribed right here to my YouTube channel because I add new videos all the time. And if you really want to see big changes, make sure to get on over to teachthroughlove.com where you can subscribe for all my newest updates. Thank you so much for liking and watching and sharing these videos. Until next time, please remember it's about consciousness, not perfection.